G'day guys, welcome back. New episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, episode 54. I've been roasted on TikTok, but we have a lot more important stuff to talk about today. Of course, we did finish opening round, which we'll talk about a little bit. We've also got some news about some AFL 23 news, which is amazing that it's actually going to be getting an update. We'll be talking a little bit about some injury news, some reports coming out over the past week or so. And in world sport, we've got a big breakdown of the Premier League. So let's get straight into it. And then Rankin from the pocket, don't tell me, Isaac Rankin!
Yeah.
He's just got the license for a brothel.
Well, I think GABBA Round's going to be more than just AFL. I think this is next season.
It's at the handle at the back, Nick Dankos to get the prize home! He's done it! So guys, as always, got my co-host and my brother with me. Haven't really asked, obviously, your thoughts about opening round. Even though I know you're not a big fan of the concept, how did you feel about the games themselves?
Yeah, I think, well, they were pretty competitive for most of the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe not the Gold Coast Richmond game.
Maybe the Gold Coast game, yeah.
But I feel like that's the game that was least hyped up, I guess.
Yeah.
Other than, I know Damien Hardwick is obviously
that was
going to be a big change, but
yeah, that was the only bit about the game that was
somewhat
interesting.
It wouldn't have been that even interesting at all if it wasn't for that.
Yeah,
like
exactly,
somewhat matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously did a review of the round so far, the round that was anyway. So if you guys want to check that out, it's out on the channel now. So we won't be talking too much about the review because this will be coming out on Wednesday. We are recording this on a Monday, so probably a bunch of new information will be dropping. I did enjoy opening round. Obviously, the Swans did go on and win. Yippee. So a good win from us. But of course, we will be going into a little bit of not breaking news, but news that did happen over the weekend. Two big injuries did happen over the games, and one we'll start with is Kitty Coleman. He has been confirmed that he's done his ACL. It's so disappointing. Like we've been saying, he was going to be a breakout player for this year for Brisbane. I think that All Australian could have been, really high up there for him. I guess he can come back in 2025, be even better, but as we know, ACLs aren't exactly easy to come back from.
No, and they're very easy to redo.
Yeah.
In a way, and yeah.
We kind of know that, obviously. Well, I mean, with Sam Doherty as well, it's also been confirmed that he's done his ACL. He's a little bit older, though, so there's obviously more concern to that, saying, will he be able to come back?
Yeah.
And perform to the standard that he needs to at AFL level, so that's really disappointing as well. Jack Bowie as well has been confirmed he's going to miss about 8 or so weeks with an injury after the Swans game. That's going to be that's another disappointing injury. Quite a few injuries over the first 4 games of the season.
Yeah.
I think the only game that may not have had an injury was the Richmond Gold Coast game. I don't know if there was an injury in that game, to be honest.
No, I don't think there was.
No. How did you feel about the Gold Coast performance? Did you feel like that's...
I thought that's what they were going to do. I think he said in the review that Richmond just played... You just didn't know where Richmond were going to be, and you just thought that Gold Coast would actually do something. Yeah, the pre-season games they did nothing, but that was pre-season. The first round was expected.
Yeah.
But it was against Richmond, which everyone has in their bottom 4.
Yeah, I agree.
And
with that,
you just think that when they actually come up against a better side, you'll actually see what they're like.
Yeah. Well, they got the Crows in round 1 so this week, so I think that's a big game, big test for them. We'll see how they go there. Was there any team in the week that you thought was a big standout or a big letdown? Do you think there's maybe you pick a big up and big down? Yeah,
well, based on the week, Collingwood aren't going back to back.
GWS Gold Coast Premiership favourites.
Gold Coast are Premiership favourites. But to be honest, I was actually really interested in how the Giants did play though. Even though I did tip it.
Good on you.
Yeah,
we're proud of it. We'll get into that in a minute. The tips
but I was impressed by their performance. That it wasn't all up to Toby Green. It was a lot of last season. That Callum Brown kicked 5 goals, Jesse Hogan, Brett Daniels kicked multiple goals. It wasn't left up to one player.
Yeah.
And
who would say your biggest letdown was over the weekend?
I still believe it was Brisbane because they had such a huge lead.
Yeah.
And they choked again. They choked at home when they don't lose at home.
I wouldn't say again.
Sorry, not again. Yeah.
I don't think they do it very often.
Well,
I did not see that coming. We obviously did that for the live stream. That at halftime, I thought the game was over. I thought, Carlton kicked a couple of late goals, but I was like, Brisbane will be fine here. And they'll just keep on going. And by, 3/4 of the way through the third quarter, Carlton went in front. It was an absolutely huge turnaround in such a short space of time.
Yeah.
Does that give you, obviously you picked Carlton for finishing, top this year, right back at the predictions. Does that give you a more confidence, or do you think that was just a bit of a fluke?
Well, it's hard to say because, yes, Mackay played a brilliant game, but is he going to be able to do that consistently all season?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think Kane Corns was saying during the week, half of the week, he's like, yeah, it's good to see him play well, but it was one game.
Yeah,
he's on $1 million a year for 7 years. It's the norm. He has to do that consistently.
Yeah,
he can't just do it once in a game, kicking straight, taking set shots. It's like, but
if he can consistently they combined for 7 goals, him and Kerner.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they have to do that every week, but if they can combine for 5-6 goals a game, every single game in the season, they will be up there this year, Carlton.
Yeah.
Because I do think in the first half, though, there was a bit of a time where Carlton could not find an avenue to goal. So it's going to be interesting this year how Carlton go forward. How are they going to be able to produce goals if one of them is down?
Yeah, and I think the good thing about them winning was that Jacob Wiedering wasn't there. So,
to be fair, though, they were pretty bad in the first half without him. They looked lost.
Yeah, so
I will say that.
They did win. They got the 4 points. But it's going to be interesting that what if they're going to be able to consistently win with him out.
Yeah.
Because I think
he'll be back round 3 or 4.
Yeah, so to be honest, I think it's a big loss for them, obviously. And it might be their most important loss, player-wise. And if they can bank those wins when he's out, that's good for them.
Yeah.
And it will set them up well for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think that's very cool. There wasn't too much on the tribunal front or anything like that. I think there was one concern, which was just a fine, so who really cares? There was a talk of maybe a dangerous tackle going against Bo McClure against Callan Ward when he slammed into the ground on the shoulder. I didn't think there was much in it. I don't know why Kane Corns made such a big deal over it. Yeah. It felt like just a tackle that just ended a bit, it was just unfortunate that he landed on his shoulder, which caused the injury. I think that was fine. I think that obviously Bo McClure was fine enough to be, given away. I was a little bit surprised though that Lockie Neal and the George Hewitt stuff wasn't cited. I thought when George Hewitt hit him in the throat, I thought that may have been at least a strike, or maybe just a fine at the very least.
So it wasn't anything.
It doesn't. I don't think it was cited in the tribunals or the match review.
Yeah, well,
so I was a bit surprised by that.
Yeah, because last season they did give a couple fines for that sort of hits.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised by that. I thought that at least it would be a fine. Because I thought that I don't think he was diving by any means. No. So I don't think that, but it just seemed like it was a solid enough hit to at least cause a fine. But maybe I don't know things. Who knows? Another interesting story that came out of the week was a bit about Brisbane, about the fact that they will, in the next year or so, potentially have to move their home games for a couple of years away from the GABBA. So, if you don't know, in 2032, the Olympic Games is scheduled to be in Queensland, or Brisbane, in Australia. So, apparently they're going to have to rebuild the GABBA to, one, allow for 70,000 seats, but also they need to make the ground bigger, because it's not big enough to hold a track, so a running track. So they would have to do that in a couple of years, which means that Brisbane would have to relocate their games. Now, I think it doesn't really exactly say where they would go. I would assume it's just Metricon. Well, it's not even called Metricon anymore. Well, I don't even know what it's called now. I think it's People's Choice or something. Stadium or whatever. But I will be interested to see how the Brisbane Lions would go, because that would be pretty big. I would say. I mean, they've made a pretty big... other than last week, they've made a pretty big fortress up in Queensland.
There was another ground, I can't remember what it's called, but they're thinking of renovating that to get it to 20,000. I can't remember what it's...
So what, they would renovate that to move Brisbane there?
Yeah.
And then move them back?
Yeah.
I feel like I just played a Metrodome.
Yeah, like Gold Coast did when they first started in the AFL, that they had to play their, I think first 11 matches, 11 rounds, home games in the GABBA.
Yeah,
because the Metricon wasn't built then.
Well, surely they would just play it there. I would think so. I mean, if the fact that the South Australian clubs and the WA clubs have to play at the same home ground every week, you'd think it'd just be fair enough.
Yeah,
to just move
like you said,
Brisbane there for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Sorry, a couple of years. I do think it is a little bit different though. The fact that one's the Gold Coast, one's Brisbane. Yeah. It's not like Port Adelaide and Adelaide.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. So
I do think that's fair enough. I think it will be interesting to see what happens though. And we've seen like in international sport, I obviously think Premier League, like the soccer, some teams just can't deal with the move for a couple of years. I don't think Tottenham did that well when they moved to Wembley for those couple of years while the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was being built. So we'll see how that goes. I would be very interested to see how Brisbane go this year. Sorry, in the few years when they have to move. Yeah. I mean, it's basically inevitable. I'm pretty sure they have confirmed that the 2032 Olympics is going to be held in Brisbane. So it's obviously going to happen. So I'll be interested to see how Brisbane go, that fact. Moving on into a bit of AFL 23 news. Now, you may have forgotten this game existed, but AFL released a video game last year called AFL 23. Now, I thought they were just going to leave it to die. I was very surprised they were even calling they were going to make an update for it, to be honest. If you don't know, AFL 23 it released in May last year, I believe. Released absolutely terribly. The game could not function, and it's not even that good now. So it's pretty dismal state, to be honest. But there is news now that Big Ant, the studio who's running AFL 23, are planning to make a bunch of updates going into 2024, which I wanted to cover. So, on March the 19th, so basically in about a week or so, the gameplay and season fixture update will include a grammetry of players attending the draft at Marvel Stadium. I don't really know what that means. I feel like that's just... I don't even know what that means, to be honest. I think that means that the draftee... okay.
Yeah,
So that's got nothing to do with the game, I don't think. I think that's just going to be that all the drafted players are going to go get their photos done and shit for the game.
Yeah.
So I don't even know why that's in there. Why does that matter? Like, it would be good. Like, they're going to have, like, their photos done and they're going to look realistic in game, but I don't feel like that has to be on the roadmap for 2024.
Yeah.
Anyway, April the 23rd, new draftee players and further gameplay improvements will be updated. This should have been done last year.
Yes.
I'm going to be honest. I get that there's so many people out there that just protect this studio, like, to the heavens, but I don't know why. Like, if you're going to be selling a game for $100, which, by the way, on PlayStation, it is still $100.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's still $100. Like, this is in Australia. I can't believe that they have the gall to sell this game for $100. It's fucking ridiculous. And to the fact that they're doing gameplay improvements, which they did for about a couple of months, but they didn't do it after that.
Yeah.
So I feel like they should be. But anyway, on May the 28th, so in a couple of months' time, they will finally be releasing pro teams.
So still 2.5 months away.
2.5 months from now. But this was announced. This was like one of the big selling points of AFL 23.
Yeah.
Pro teams. Now, if you don't know what pro teams is, it basically the answer of like FIFA with Ultimate Team. So you can buy players and have them in your squad, which was one of the huge selling points for this game.
Yeah.
They basically were saying that it was... Some people believed it was going to be out on release. I knew that wasn't the case, but a lot of people did believe that was the case. It wasn't released. They basically... I think it was after like June or something. They didn't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Finally, there is news. And also, another point about pro teams was the game was announcing that there was going to be like legend players.
Yeah.
They were announcing legends for the games, but weren't releasing the pro teams aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, I think the fact that the game doesn't run very well at all offline, like at all, like playing against the computer or whatever, how is it going to run online games? I feel like that's going to be a fucking huge downfall.
I think there's going to be a lot of problems with it. I think that I never got the game, and I still don't believe I will. even with the actual feature to it.
Would, like, when you first hear about pro teams and stuff, would that be a reason why you would get it, though?
Yes, it would be, because that's the whole...
I feel like that's a big selling point for consumers. Like, for people who... I grew up playing FIFA. I wasn't a big soccer fan, but it made me, like, start liking soccer and that sort of stuff. But that was one of my... I always thought, if the AFL game was coming, I would love to have an Ultimate Team feature.
Yeah.
And then they brought it in. They made us wait for over a year now for it. And I just can't see... I'm not going to start playing it until I see... or I'm putting money into it at all. Until at least I see gameplay that actually shows that it can function online.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not expecting it to be 100% perfect, no glitches, no bugs. But I am not going to put any money into it. And I suggest that people who are watching don't put any money into this pro teams aspect until you see that it functions. Because if you buy all these teams, actually go into the game, and it doesn't function, you're wasting money.
Yeah. Yeah, don't make the company profit on something that doesn't work.
Yeah,
in a way.
exactly.
Yeah.
I actually think that it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea, in theory. But the fact that the game can't function offline speaks to me that this game won't function as an online game.
Yeah.
As an online multiplayer sort of experience. I can't see that happening. So, like, the fact... Yeah, I just think it's going to be... It could be a huge downfall of the game. I think it's definitely a good idea that it will bring players back to it, but it has to function. And the last update on here is on July the 31st. AFLW update including draft season fixture. So basically they're just updating the player lists and that sort of stuff, which is basically what they're doing on the 19th of March, going to, next week, basically.
Yeah.
So I may go check it out, see how the game functions. I have not played it since the first day.
Yeah.
I was so excited for the game. I was like, I was going with you. I was like, I think it's going to be okay. I think there was something I was like, I think it could be okay. And I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
When it came out and it did not function at all. Like, the opposition players wouldn't tackle, blah, 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 blah. From what I can tell, I've seen people talk about it and stuff, I don't think it's got much better.
No.
So, it's really disappointing. I'm going to be honest with you. It is really disappointing. And I really hope that they actually do make the game good, function properly, and if they release this pro teams at a good state, I think it can be the revival of the game, so to speak. Because I do think that in a footy game, the fact that they've got the grasp of football players who football supporters who play games.
Yeah.
They've got them in their fucking palm of their hand. You have a base of people who will play this game. Like, everyone plays video games now.
Yeah.
Like the kids and all that sort of stuff. All you have to do is get out a game that is functional, that works, and if you can get this pro teams up and running, you will have a money maker for years.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to make the money of, like, FIFA or GTA. Obviously not. It's obviously very located to Australia. But I'm telling you right now, this can be a huge money maker for Big Ant if they can get this game to actually function.
Yeah.
If the game does not function online, because you can put all the attributes of, like, of different, like all these features of, like, pro teams, you can pick your favourite team, you can make the best team in the world with all these different features, you can buy them in and that. But if the game doesn't actually work, it's going to go downhill really quick.
Yeah.
So I really hope it does. I would really love to do it. I really hope they actually, once they release this pro teams, and if it does function well, they continue to update it like FIFA does, with events and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool, like having all Australian cards and having, like, Team of the Week cards. That'd be so cool. I think that would be so cool. But they've got to make it work. If the game doesn't function online, I won't be putting money into it.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
I feel like some people think, like, oh, you're not supporting this place. I want this game to be good. So bad. I want to play an AFL game. Of course I do. I remember playing them as a kid, and that they were good games. Like in 2006. The fact that the game doesn't function in 2023, 2024, that's terrible.
Yeah.
The gaming industry is so huge now. You should be able to release a game that works. And it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I hope that it works. I hope that it does become good. And if it is, look, let me ask you, if it was to be good, and I told you it's good, and the pro teams aspect works, would you go and buy it?
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all the consumer base wants.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Big Ant, that's all they want. Just make the game playable, good, and like if the pro teams comes out, make the online functions work.
Yeah.
Because I remember trying to play the old AFL games online, and it didn't work that well. So I'm not saying it's easy to do, but if you're gonna sell the game for a fucking $100, $100,
every aspect you promise needs to work.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I hate when people go, "Oh, you can't compare it to FIFA because it's like it's a studio of, it's an Australian studio. It's not EA." Look, I'm not a big fan of EA. I'll sit there and say that right now. But if you're going to sell the game for the same price or higher, you've got to expect what you're paying for.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So we will talk about... So obviously you guys have seen the video of my AFL fantasy team. We actually have finally filled up the AFL Fantasy League, guys. So if you did miss out, I would say I'm sorry, but you've had 2 months to do it.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's your fault that you missed out on the league. I'm sorry, but the league is completely filled up. And I think next year, hopefully we're like double the size, bigger and whatever. We'll make it an open league. But I thought this time we'll just make it a closed league, see if we can fill up a whole match. Like this is just basically just head-to-head league. There was 18 teams in it. The fact is it filled up on Sunday. So a week before the season. So you had time, okay? So I don't want to see a bunch of comments going, "Oh, but I didn't have time." Bro, you had 2 months, okay? I'm sorry. You missed out. But let's review your AFL fantasy team.
Alright, well, this is the team that's going to win the whole league.
I mean, basically, because I think you've copied most of mine. Anyway, let's go.
So we're going to go through the defenders. To start off with, Nick Dacos, Harry Sheasel, Hayden Young, Elliot Yeo, Zach Williams, and Daniel Curtin.
So you've got 5 of the 6. I don't have Daniel Curtin, but I have Josh Gibcus. I think, yeah. Anyway,
midfielders, I have went with Marcus Bontempelli, Tom Green, Zach Butters, Luke Davis-Uniacke, Took Miller, Harley Reid, McClure, and Riley Sanders.
So I think that's 7 of the 8, but I have Harley Reid up forward, so it's 6 of the 8 midfielders, yeah.
So then we got our ruckman, just going to be simple, Gawn and Grundy.
Yep.
Forward line has went with Sam Flanders, Zach Fisher, James Jordan, Alex Sexton, Caleb Windsor, and is it Darcy Wilson?
Yeah, Darcy Wilson.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got all of those forwards. I do have Darcy Wilson on my bench. So I think you have 2 different.
To
be fair, I did take a couple from my brother. I will say that. I do remember taking Tom Green. I do remember picking him up, but I know you had him first. And was there? I think there was another one. I'm pretty sure.
I think it was Harry Sheasel.
No, it was Zach Reid. Sorry, Zach Fisher. I do remember you saying.
Yeah, because I had him, then you told me he had an injury, then it was...
So 2, alright, so I'm giving you, 2, 3, 4 different, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want me to talk about my
Alright, let's talk about
bench,
the
or...
Yeah, we'll go through the reserves.
Alright, so, Charlotte Maker in the defence, St Kilda. Charlie Dean for Collingwood. Reserves for the midfielders are Jeremy Sharp and Matt Roberts. Ruckman is Heath from St Kilda.
That will obviously change if someone does actually play.
Obviously, all these players will change if they don't play.
Yeah.
I may keep one just for my loophole, but that will change. My forward line is Ashton Moore for Carlton. Moore.
Yeah. No, yep, okay. I that was a surprise. Did he even play an opening round?
No, but that's obviously going to change. I just needed someone to, because of Kitty Coleman. I had Kitty Coleman, and then I had to change it because I need someone that was playing well. Kyle Lohman, and my utility at the moment is Lazaro.
Okay, so you didn't pick Aaron Cadman?
No, because I needed to change that, so I needed an extra few K to get Elliot Yeo. Because I don't believe any other defender that's in around my price range is any good.
Okay, so how much money do you have spare now?
3K.
3, okay. I have actually 8 after revealing my team. Like we've basically been talking about, our teams will change a little bit depending on if our depending on the teams being picked. That will be coming out Wednesday night for the Carlton Richmond game, and then obviously Thursday the rest of the teams will basically be released.
Yeah.
So that's basically the teams going to be released, guys. Your AFL fantasy team, I would say, is pretty high up there because most of it is mine. I actually think last year it was the only year you've actually beaten me in AFL fantasy.
I know, it was good.
Yeah,
It was a good year.
so first time.
Yeah.
I've been able to beat you for many years.
Yeah,
So-
previously I reckon we've done it for about 8 or 9 years. And
I think it was when the Gold Coast came into the competition.
Yeah.
Oh no, it would have been a couple of years just after that. I think it was just after the Swans won the premiership. I think it was in 2013 we started doing it. So this is our 11th year doing AFL fantasy. So basically you're going up against the top guns.
Yeah,
I think I finished with the top 5,001, so
we're very experienced, but we're not
the best at it.
Yeah, we're not the best at it, but we're experienced enough to know what we're doing.
Yeah, so in case you don't know, if you have been if you are a part of the league, congratulations, you were 16 people who made it in the space of 2 months. So if I see one complaint, I'm going to I swear to God. But yeah, the prizes for winning the comp, if you can beat me or my brother, this is both in the tipping comp that we're doing and the AFL fantasy. If you are able to beat us, you will get a $125 gift voucher to the AFL store. We're also going to be giving away one of our footy prints from our footy design print company, BR Designs. Speaking of that, BR Designs is our footy print designs company. You kind of see two up here. We have a couple. We have one for every single team in the competition. They're just basically memory prints. We sell them in A2 sizes, A3 and A4. So if you guys want to go check out our footy print design business, the link is down below for BR Designs, and if you use the code BRPOD, all in capital letters, you'll get 10% off your purchase. And I am going to start working on some new designs in the next few weeks, so hopefully by round 2 or 3 we'll be releasing some new prints for we're going to try and work for every single AFL team on every single release. Don't quote me on that though, because they do take some time to make. So to make 18 every single time is going to be a bit difficult, but I'm going to do my best to try and do that. And if you want to follow us doing that, go check out the socials. I think they're linked down below as well. So hopefully that is the case. Let's move into the footy tips for week 1 of the AFL season. Well, round 1 of
the official round 1.
The official round 1. So last week I got one tip. Very disappointed in myself. I didn't pick my Swans, and I didn't pick the Giants to win either. I should have maybe I should have picked this. I should have picked the Swans. I'll say that. I did have the Swans as like favourites, but I don't know. I just wavered on the midfield. But Isaac Heaney played really well to help out in the midfield, and you were able to get 3.
Yes, I was. I was very happy with that. I didn't believe the hype in Melbourne, and I believe the hype in the Giants.
So I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
So let's move into our tips of round 1. So I'll go through them first. On the first game, I've picked Carlton over Richmond. I've picked Collingwood over the Swans, Essendon over Hawthorn, GWS over North Melbourne, Geelong over St Kilda, Gold Coast over the Crows, Melbourne over the Western Bulldogs, Port Adelaide over West Coast, and I've picked Brisbane over the Dockers. So I've kind of gone with the favourites on most, if not every game. Every game. Let's have a look at your tips.
I've went with Carlton over Richmond, Collingwood over the Swans, Hawthorn over Essendon, the Giants over North Melbourne, Geelong over the Saints, the Crows over the Suns, Melbourne over the Bulldogs, Port over the Eagles, and Brisbane over the Dockers.
Alrighty, so we've got a couple of different ones. First thing I want to talk about actually is the Collingwood-Sydney game. So this is a big game for both teams. Obviously, Sydney, if they're able to get 2 wins on the trot here, which on their probably their hardest games going into like round 10, Sydney have a really good run after the first 2 rounds of the season. I think Sydney have a bit of a chance here, I'm going to be honest. But I feel like my brain tells me that Collingwood, they're unveiling the flag. It's going to be 100,000 people at the MCG. First game of the year, really, first game of the year at the MCG for Collingwood. And after the poor performance they had against the Giants, I just feel like they're going to bounce back. Yeah. Is there a reason? Is that really kind of what you're going for the Collingwood game?
Yeah, they made it such a fortress, the MCG, Collingwood.
I mean, they play there every week anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's why they lost.
And to be honest, I just don't trust the forward line of the Swans with the three-prong forward line. At the moment it's not working. I know it's only one a week, but
Did you watch the Swans game?
yeah, I watched it. So Marty just couldn't find the ball.
Like I said in the review, though, it was incredibly terrible conditions.
Yeah, it was
for tall
conditions,
forwards.
but I think that like you said, Collingwood, they'll bounce back. It was just a hiccup. I think that happened. Maybe a bit of slowness of starting late with winning the premiership. So I'm not taking too many concerns out of that game for them. The Swans. It's going to be interesting if they can back it up, again. But they also got the extra day off because that might also help.
Yeah, I think that's also very fair. I think I'll ask you about that after the podcast, actually. But we'll move on to talk about the next game. This is our first differential on the tipping this week. You've picked Hawthorn over Essendon. Now, Essendon on the official tipping footy app here, Essendon have been picked 80% to Hawthorn's 20%. Why have you gone Hawthorn here?
I don't know, to be honest. To be honest, it's a big rivalry.
Expert commentary.
Yeah, it's a big rivalry between them two, and I don't know. I think just a bit of the youth. I think that from the Hawthorn, I think I'm pretty much basing it on the Gold Coast in a way. That Gold Coast was sluggish in the pre-season, but they played pretty well against Richmond last week. I'm kind of doing the same thing with Hawthorn. They were a bit sluggish during pre-season. They had a few injuries, which hasn't helped, but I think they can beat Essendon, and I just don't know where Essendon are really at.
So this is like an interesting game for you, and like you're going to be watching Essendon to see if they can live up to the hype of like all these recruits coming into the team and that sort of stuff.
Because sometimes a recruit, if you bring in so many different players, that are they going to be able to gel in a way?
Okay.
And I just don't know if they can.
So the uncertainty maybe of Essendon's maybe got to you a bit. Okay. I've picked Essendon because I just think that they can, if they can match Hawthorn in the midfield, which I think is their strongest line, I think Essendon are going to be able to kick a winning score. I think that Hawthorn have been, I wouldn't say decimated by injuries down back, but they have missed quite a few. I think if Peter Wright can get on top, they can win up. They can win up forward.
Yeah.
And I think Essendon just have a little bit. I think they're capable enough in their defensive 50 that they can hold up against Hawthorn's forward line. I think Jordan Ridley is a bit lost, so obviously got injured in the last pre-season game. So I think that's going to be interesting how they can perform down back. But for me, I think Essendon, I think if they can match Hawthorn in the midfield, they'll have a pretty cruisy day.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thought process.
Also, like last season, Sicily was injured for a bit of the games and that hampered them. If he was out, I'd definitely be tipping Essendon. But he is still in.
Okay. Alright. And then the last game that we ticked differently was the Gold Coast versus the Crows. Now, I'm going to go first here. The reason why I picked the Gold Coast is because I think it is so unfair that a team that has had a game in hand get to play a game against a team who hasn't yet.
Yeah.
Now, I actually, even though the conditions of the opening round for most games was pretty hot and you could say teams are going to tire here, and that maybe your reason, I don't know. But I'll ask you in a second. But I think having the extra run in the legs of like an AFL game is going to be so beneficial for these teams, the 8 teams, for the first couple of weeks of the season, before they get their buys again. And I think we saw last year when, like, this is a little bit different because the buys came through the middle of the year last year, obviously. But we did see most teams lost their games coming out of the bye.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be... I think it's pretty unfair. I think that's a big reason why I think the Gold Coast are going to go on and win. I think on the game itself, not looking at the bye, just leaving the bye out of it, I do think if the Gold Coast can get the ball up forward enough, they look very dangerous. We did see that against Richmond, that they found multiple ways to goal. So I think with the Crows, probably their weakest line is their defence. I think the Gold Coast, if they can win it in the middle, which they look strong in there against Richmond... if they can, if Rao, Anderson, Miller, Flanders, if they can dominate that, if they can just take the win in the midfield, I think they'll get it forward enough. And Ben King, Levi Casbolt, I think they can all get on the board and kick Jack Lukosius as well. I think they can dominate up forward. So that's kind of my reasoning behind it, outside of the bye, which I think is a huge aspect of this game.
Yeah.
But Why have you picked the Crows?
Because they're one of the most potent forward lines in the comp.
Yeah.
And I just think that they need to be able to win away. And I think it will be a big statement if... Yes, it's the Gold Coast. We don't know where they are, right? But they just need to get the first win away this season, just to get the monkey off the back.
Yeah.
And yes, the Gold Coast looked potent down forward in the first half of that game against Richmond, but then they conceded 6 goals in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So they do have that tendency still to do it. To leak a lot of goals, and against a potent Crows forward line, it's very difficult, I think, to stop that momentum that the Crows will bring.
Yeah.
And the defence. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be in the midfield, like most games are. It's going to be done in the midfield, and I think they only have to break even the Crows. With that forward line, they should be able to beat them.
Okay, that's fair enough. All good then. Looking at the tipping ladder for our league, obviously we didn't have an extra week with the tipping league. It started with opening round. Looking at it right now, I am in last spot. That is so embarrassing. So I think we said that it's going to be a lot easier for someone to win this league than the AFL Fantasy League in our opinions. I'm on bottom with one tip. The only game I got was the Gold Coast game, so yay me. And also, with the first game of each round on the AFL tipping app, you pick the margin, and that's kind of like your percentage, sort of. Yeah. So I'm right down the bottom. That's good to see. You are located 7th, but you did get the 3 votes, and no one got 4. If someone got 4, they obviously hacked the system. Sure. No one would have got 4. Everyone in this league, in our league, only got 3. The current leader of the official Boundary Riders tipping league is the Fevolutionized named Johnny C. So congratulations, Johnny. You lead round 1. You won't get a prize for leading in round 1. Well, opening round, but we do give you a congratulations. Yeah. So good job to you, John. We are proud of you, and we love you. Maybe not that much. We'll lay off a bit, but good job for taking the lead in the top spot. I only have one other person who got 1 vote, so thank you for not leaving me completely on the bottom, down to the bottom. So good to see. Good job. I think this week will be interesting. This will kind of open it up. I think now with obviously 9 games, hopefully I can get all 9. I doubt it. I've picked all the favourites, and it seems like in the first couple of rounds when you pick all the favourites, somehow some team just pulls out a win out of nowhere. So I guess we'll wait and see on that. And while we're talking about the tips as well, this week I am planning to stream the Gold Coast v Adelaide game. So Saturday night, I think that's going to be a good game. I think that's going to be... I'm not going to say it's going to be game of the round. I would be streaming the Friday night game, but it's Sydney versus Collingwood, and like I said, I'm not streaming a Swans game because I will be incredibly biased and very tense because like last week, even though the Swans won by 20-odd points in the end for 3 quarters, it was a very tense game of footy. Yeah. And I kind of thought, I'm not going to be able to do that. And I was thinking maybe doing Carlton Richmond, but I feel like Carlton are just going to flog it.
I think it's going to be a smashing. I've predicted about 5 goals, 5-6 goals. Yeah. Thrashing.
Yeah. So that's the game I'm going to be streaming this week. So Gold Coast v Adelaide, top spot, Gold Coast Suns up against the Adelaide Crows. I think it's going to be a big game, actually. And yeah, that's basically what we've got for the tips this week, guys. Last segment before we get into World Sport. We have our 3rd week, I think, or 4th week of the Flog of the Week. Woo! Oh, yeah. Alrighty. Now, maybe one thing we haven't talked about so far this week, and that is the Mason Cox incident in the pre-game of the GWS v Collingwood game. So, you've seen it, I've seen it, everyone's seen it.
Flog.
That was the first instance you saw it. That was my thought, and I thought, look, he is a bit of a flog. Now, if you don't know what happened, which is like, you must have been off the world space, you must have been living under a rock at this point. But what happened was, GWS were doing their drills in the middle of the ground. Mason Cox came through and jumped into Shane Mumford, who's their midfield coach or ruck coach, and took the ball out of the play or ruck or something, and then ran away with it. Now, there has been some news that's come to light that says that the Giants pushed the Collingwood people out of the space in the centre square. I don't know if that's true. I'm going to say, even if it is true, I don't think you have to do that. And I feel like the Giants wouldn't just go in there, like after the Collingwood just started doing their drills, the Giants wouldn't just walk straight in there and just take the spot. I feel like if that was to happen, Collingwood were holding it for so long that the Giants would have just pushed, like, come on, bro, get out of the fucking way. We've got to do our drills as well. Yeah. That's what I think. I don't know. I think Mason Cox wins the flog of the week because, one, don't fucking do that. You look like an absolute fucking flog for doing that. I get the American aspect of, like, kind of the arrogance of, like, the American aspect. If you live in Australia now, dude, you already have that arrogance aspect of your life of being an American. Pull it back a bit. Who cares? If the Giants if they did push in, go do it somewhere else. It's their home ground. Yeah. You're allowed to do it for a certain amount of time. I think that what happened was they were in there for too long and they pushed him out of the way. Flog act. But the biggest flog act of all of this is the fact that Mason Cox goes on his Instagram, quickly deleted it by the way, posted, if you want to know the truth about it, basically, come listen to my podcast this week. Hey bro, I get it. Like, I get you want to get listens to your podcast. I get it. I would do the same. Well, no, I wouldn't do the same. But I get, like, I would like the same to get extra podcast listeners over here. But you're acting like an American YouTuber in some mad beef. Yeah. You're a fucking football player in Australia. You would probably have one of the biggest listening... You probably have the most amount of listeners when it comes to football podcasts or podcasts hosted by football players because you bloody play for Collingwood. Just tell us what happened. Yeah. Don't fucking post, like, promote your podcast about it. Just tell us what actually happened. Yeah. Because now, everyone who's not a Collingwood fan, because fucking, I don't know why, I don't know if Collingwood fans realise, but your players and your club aren't perfect. They can do things wrong, and that's okay. I feel like there's still Collingwood supporters out there who believe that Joffa is a good guy. Hey, bro. He touched kids. He's a flog. I'm not saying that Mason Cox is anywhere near a bigger flog as Joffa, but maybe open that second eye and realise that Collingwood aren't perfect. And I feel like I've read an interesting statement about Mason Cox, about people talking about Mason Cox, saying that Collingwood, as soon as he retires or leaves, they're going to call him a fucking flog of a player. They didn't really like him. But while he's still at Collingwood, they've got to stand on this, like, pedestal of, like, oh, he plays for Collingwood, so he's perfect. Yeah. You do realise that not everyone at the fucking club is perfect. They can make mistakes. And I'm going to say not so much of a flog for this incident at the game because I don't know the full context. But the fact that you go onto your Instagram and post about, if you want to hear the full context of what happened in this mad YouTube beef, I'm going to post it in my podcast this week. Flog. Just tell us what happened on your side of it. If you can tell us, like, I would take a lot more, like, belief into what he says if he just told us rather than trying to promote his podcast about it. Yeah. And that is why, guys, Mason Cox is the nominee for opening round of Flog of the Week. Now, if you want to know what... So, the Flog of the Week, basically, is going to be, like, our version of Tool of the Week, which was on Before the Game, a TV show that happened, like, 10 or so years ago. Every single week, we're going to be picking someone out of the footy space that's been a flog. Last week was Sam McClure, which we can talk about in a second. But, yeah, I think the week before that... last week was Jimmy Webster. Yeah, Jimmy Webster was last week. Sam McClure was the week before. So, yeah, a couple of people have already been nominated. So, and at the end of the year, with our Bounty Riders medal count, we're doing a little bit of a break, like in between probably, and do a couple of other awards. So, kind of similar to how the Brownlow works, to give away the Goal of the Year, the Mark of the Year, and all the other fucking stupid awards that they give away. Yeah. We'll kind of do that with the Tool of the Year. Fucking Flog of the Year. Thank you. Anyway, and I think we'll actually give it, like, what we'll do maybe is we'll vote for one each, and then we'll give you guys a vote on we'll put out, like, a compilation of, like, the different every single week as who's been voted for. Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. And then maybe if we vote for the same or vote for different ones, they could be the tiebreaker. I think that'd be a cool idea. Anyway, now before we get into World Sport, sorry, I kind of forgot about this, but I wanted to kind of talk about the Sam McClure stuff. So I posted a little funny TikTok about, like, Sam McClure interviewing Max Gawn, and made a funny joke about that Sam McClure's hairdressers look is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Is that a true thing to say? Sam McClure has never had a good haircut. He's always had that preppy schoolboy haircut. That makes him
I
look like
don't know
a
what
fuckhead.
hairstyle he's got now because it looks stupid.
Well, did you see it?
Yeah,
on
it looks,
TikTok?
I don't know what the hell that is.
I think it's like trying to make him look trendy, but makes him look like a
seems
flog.
like he changes his hair every month or so.
Yeah, but it's only it always has to be shaved around the back and front, the backs and sides here.
Yeah,
it has to be like full volume at the front.
Yeah.
So whatever. And apparently that's a hot take or something. Like all the comments that are on that TikTok are like, "Oh, look at your hair, bro." And I didn't sit there and say my hair looked better.
Yeah.
But also, what's the one thing that I took away from it was that's how Sam McClure does his hair. That's like his best version.
Yeah.
In the TikTok that I did, if you go have a look at it, I clearly don't have my hair done. Well, like, not that I had to, but I did. Is that bad? I don't know. Maybe I'm taking this to heart too much. I don't know. I probably shouldn't read the comments. I get it. Like I thought it was quite funny. Clearly from this, obviously taking it really as a joke. But I feel like that. How the fuck does he have fans? Surely that's even if I have the worst haircut of all time, if this is about you, even if you had the worst haircut of all time, I don't think that I could protect Sam McClure. I couldn't take his side on pretty much anything. Is that a fair thing to say? Surely that Sam McClure, there couldn't be much that he's ever done in his life that I would take on his side. There's not much. Like, has he ever done... I can't recall anything that he's done where I'm like, yeah, I agree with you, Sam. Like, to the point where I'd go in a comment section and stand up for him. No way. There is no way in hell I'm standing up for Sam. Like, bit of a flog. And that's why he's nominated this year. He's definitely in the running. All right, guys. So, now let's move into World Sport. Now... World Sport's basically just our Premier League section at this point. We talked a little about the NFL. Well, we talked about the NFL when the NFL season was running, and we talked a little bit about the cricket. How's the cricket going? Is there much going on?
I think the day's getting finished now.
Oh, so it is the second test against New Zealand.
Yeah, it's pretty much the last day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting close. I think Australia will win in the end.
Did we win the first test?
Yeah, we cruised past them.
Okay.
But
so
yeah,
we won the first test, and the second test we're going to win?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Really good to see. The only thing I've really seen about the test so far is the fact that Steve Smith looked like he's going to lose his... He's not going to keep the opening spot.
He can't bat at opener.
Yeah.
He just can't play the moving ball at the straight up.
Okay, well, to be honest, I think they should have picked a specialist opener.
Yes.
I know we don't have a lot of them, but in the lower chef in the Shield level, but surely we go with that, especially now. Like the funny thing is that we don't have a test match until next summer now
against India.
India.
So yeah, whatever happens now, to be honest, Travis Head looks like he might lose his spot because he hasn't scored any runs. In his spot since the GABBA test.
He can't. No, we need to keep him.
Yeah.
Just for the morale at this point.
But the only thing I can see is that what they'll do is maybe move Smith back to 5, take Travis Head's spot and get an actual opener. But would they really want to risk a new guy or a guy that hasn't played in 5 or 6 years as an opener for his test series against India? Would they really want to risk that?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be very interesting. I feel like that there's still a lot of cricket to come till then. Obviously, we don't know how that's going to happen. But the fact that there's not much time, there's no other test matches until then, it doesn't give... you're going to basically have to go on Shield form now. So, there's no other tests after this, is there? Is it between Australia and New Zealand, or is there one more?
No, so yeah, this is the last test.
So this is the last test. So, basically, that's it now.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have to wait and really... We're just going to have to wait till summer.
Yeah.
To see if we pick someone else. But yeah, Steve Smith hasn't performed that well. I mean, I didn't really mind the decision when it came out, but I mean, we've seen it now. It really hasn't worked. So let's just move on. Pick someone else now. So I think that's probably the best way to go about it. Let's move into the Premier League because that's kind of really what we talk about. First thing I want to talk about before we get into the results of the weekend or whatever was you sent me this story that Leicester City could potentially be getting a point deduction in the next week in the next couple of weeks. Now, we've seen Everton already receive the points deduction. Manchester City don't feel like they're ever going to get it. Nottingham Forest have been mixed up in the situation. And now Leicester, who are currently in the Championship and sit top, who look like basically they've looked like certainties to be automatically promoted for most of the Championship season, but Ipswich have kind of caught back. They've kind of lost a bit of form.
Yeah.
But if Leicester were to lose points here, that would be pretty disastrous. I mean, unless they only lose like 3 or 4 points. I don't really know a lot about the situation. To be honest, I don't think they'll get it. I feel like there's so many reports every now and then that just come out of saying, "Oh, this team's going to get point deductions."
Yeah.
Oh, even Chelsea was mentioned to be point deduction at one point. So yeah, do you think that this would happen?
To Leicester, no. But if it does, I don't think it could be. I doubt it will be as severe as Everton.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that they don't have as much money.
True, and they're not in the top league.
Yeah, they're not in the top league either. So, yeah, I just don't think it will be as severe if they get a deduction. But who knows? They could get even more in a way. So because they're in the Championship.
Yeah, that is true. They could just go the other route and say, "Oh, well, not as many people care.
Yeah,
let's just give them like 20-point deduction or something."
Yeah, 20-point deduction. So they could go either way.
Yeah. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen. No. I just feel like that's... It always gets threatened. It's a good story title. Yeah. I think it's a very good headline.
But I get the fact that the one story that started it was Manchester City, and they still haven't been told about any of it.
Yeah, and they've got, over 100 breaches or something?
Yeah, and you go through... Everton, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, Leicester... And it seems like they're going to be resolved first before Manchester City does.
Yeah,
what about you resolve that one first when you've got over 100 breaches? Figure that one out first.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair enough, definitely.
But I think it's more that because they're on top of the Premier League, that it's...
up the top, yeah.
Yeah, and they've been up the top for the last 6 or 7 years, that if they give the points deduction to City, it opens the Premier League up. In a way that
they do have a lot of money too.
Yeah,
so that's obviously a big talking point
when
when it comes to FIFA.
Yeah,
but let's move into the Premier League. So, looking at it right now, for the first time in quite a while, Liverpool have been knocked off the top. Arsenal currently sit on top on goal difference after their big win against not a big win. Sorry, a win against Brentford. Let's go through the results and then we'll talk about the game, probably the biggest game of the year so far. First game of the weekend was Manchester United versus Everton. United won 2-0. Bournemouth and Sheffield United played out a 2-2 draw. Sheffield should have won that. Luton Town and Crystal Palace played a 1-1 draw. Crystal Palace should have won that. Luton Town got very lucky in the 96th minute to get on the board. Wolverhampton won 2-1 over Fulham. Arsenal won 2-1 against Brentford in a very close contest. Brentford did very well to keep level, and then Arsenal just got one late. They've been very good. Tottenham won 4-0 over Aston Villa away. Very good win from them. Brighton won 1-0 over Nottingham. 2-2 draw between West Ham and Burnley. So good in the end from Burnley to get a 2-2 draw away. And then the big game, Liverpool versus Manchester City. There was a lot of opportunities for City to win this game.
Yeah.
Liverpool did have a couple as well, but in the end the game ended 1-1. Because of this result, though, it has given Arsenal the lead.
Yeah.
So there is 10 games to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So much time left. Still heaps of time.
So many.
So anyone could win. Any of these three teams, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, could win it from here. At the moment, I know you've been pretty much on City, still being able to do it. Do you feel like they're still the favourite?
They're still the favourite, but I still believe Liverpool have the easiest run home.
Okay.
And Liverpool playing Salah off the bench, I don't get it. He didn't start. I don't know.
Is he injured, or are they just not putting him in?
I don't know. I think it's more... there might be some speculation behind it because Klopp's leaving. That, he's going to leave as well.
Is it maybe due to the fact that they've got 10 games left, they want him to be prime, ready to go for the last 10 games of the season?
I'm sure every Liverpool fans hope on that. Yeah. And I'm hoping that too. That if they give him heart... But it just seems like in a game against City, when you have to win, or at least pick a point, to start him on the bench was a huge risk.
Yeah, I feel like that's very, very, very strange. I feel like for sure Mo Salah is in your best team. Surely. Now, he did come on for Sabazalai in the 61st minute, but surely he's playing a full 90. Well, at least he's playing the first half and a bit, see what happens. If he's not performing well, take him off. But at the end of the day, very surprised that he did not start at the very least. Now, obviously in the end, Edison, why did he get taken off? He only got a yellow card. It was very interesting because he got a yellow card, he gave away the penalty in the second half, and then got subbed out because he got a yellow card, which, to be honest, he probably could have got red. He could have got red. He slid in on, I think it was Nunez when he was running through. Yeah, and he took him out. Nunez was not exactly in a... If he got past him, he may have been able to get the goal. It's a very tight angle. I do think that Edison slid in a little bit hard, we'll be honest. I think he could have been red carded. But it was interesting that they took him off after the yellow card. I don't know why that was the case. But yeah, he came off, and then their reserve goalkeeper, probably his first appearance this year, well, in Premier League, he came on and did okay in the 50 from that onwards. There were a lot of opportunities though for City to steal this.
Yeah.
Haaland had a chance. I think it was in the late in the first half. Van Dijk shut it down pretty well. Doku had a chance late in the game to score. He was able to convert it. Then it was the reserve not the reserve goalkeeper for Liverpool, but their current goalkeeper, who's Kelleher, yeah. He kicked it straight into Foden. It came off the crossbar. That was a very close chance. That almost took it over. Liverpool did have a couple of chances as well. It was a big game, though.
Yeah.
And it's another draw between these two.
Yeah.
I feel like there's very rarely one of these teams actually break away and win it.
Yeah.
But it does bring the question now, because Arsenal, the one thing they have been able to prove in this, their run this season, especially since Christmas, they are very hard to keep. They can't be kept without scoring goals.
Yeah.
They are looking very good up forward. Like even Declan Rice, obviously playing as a defensive mid, he's still getting on the board pretty regularly. So you think right now though, who are you saying is the favourite?
I still think City, but I've looked at the last 10 games I still think Liverpool have the easiest run home, but and we pretty much got over the hurdle of City, so we
with the point.
So it's hard to say Arsenal just because of the fact they
seem to do something wrong in the last few moments. Let's be honest.
Exactly, and the fact is that they've only had one good run at it in the race to the title last season. So they've only had one good run. Liverpool and City have done it often in the last 5 years, so they know what they're doing. Yeah. So
Arsenal are. They're not in unfamiliar territory, but we've seen them bottle it before. So it's very... You can see what can happen from here.
And sure, Liverpool have bottled it before as well. So you just...
Multiple times,
yeah.
Just remind you.
Just to remind you. That's why I still think City. I think if City have games in hand, they're not... Yeah, they can still do it.
Yeah, okay. Last thing I want to talk about is... this was a little bit later last week, but the Champions League. So a couple of results going through. Real Madrid have gone through to the quarterfinals after beating RB Leipzig on aggregate. Manchester City cruised past Copenhagen. They've gone on to the quarterfinals. PSG have done the same over Real Sociedad, and Bayern Munich were able to
scrape through.
Well, not scrape through. They did win 3-0 in their second game, break through. But after their first game performance against Lazio, there was a little bit of a concern.
Yeah.
So they were able to get through as well. They're through to the quarterfinals. Still to come though. This will be this week, so this comes out on a Wednesday. So one of the games, two of the results will be done by then. At the moment, going into the second leg of their Champions League game, Inter Milan lead 1-0 over Atletico Madrid. Borussia Dortmund, and PSV will have a 1-1 draw going into the second leg. Porto have a 1-0 lead over Arsenal going into their second leg. That will be an interesting game. And then Napoli and Barcelona go 1-1. So pretty close games going up into the second legs of the Champions League. Have you got a quick prediction of maybe who's going to win the Champions League going through? I think the Real Madrid are the favourite here.
I think City. I think City can go back to back.
You think they go back to back? Yeah. I just feel like Real Madrid are very hard to beat at this point. With Bellingham being there all out, I think that's just...
The thing is also that City obviously have the title race. Yeah. And it's actually...
Real Madrid kind of
they're going to fight for it. And Real Madrid have pretty much got it already.
Yeah, that's kind of that's a decent point as well. So yeah, that's kind of pretty much all we have to talk about in this episode, guys. Thank you for watching and listening. If you were watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe on today's podcast. If you were listening on Spotify, we do really appreciate it. We're trying to grow up on Spotify as well. Make sure to leave a follow so you're notified on every single episode of this podcast. We are releasing the review episodes that we're talking about throughout the AFL season up on Spotify, so that you'll be notified on that as well. And while you're on the channel, make sure to leave us 5 stars. It does really help with growing the channel. And I think last podcast actually got quite a few listens, so we do really appreciate that. But thank you for watching. We do myself, Dylan. I don't actually think I mention my name very often, but my name is Dylan. And Jack, my brother. Really do appreciate you guys listening to the 54th episode of the Boundary Riders podcast. And of course, we'll be back next week. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you all next time.
See you later, guys.